Okay, so last time what we learned was to forecast sales using 4 methods. We learned to forecast sales using the easiest is the naive forecast. Diba? Yung naive forecast natin, this one. And then we also learned how to forecast what we did was to forecast sales using the average growth rate. And then we learned how to do it using the CAGR. And lastly, we learned how to do it using the regression method. So magkakaiba yung ano nila, yung results. No? Ang walang processing na ginawa, yung naive. No? Kasi equal lang to the previous one. So the company has to decide kung ano ba talaga yung best method for them. Each of these methods have their pros and cons. Ang pinaka-mas scientific dito yung regression. Okay? Now, I told you to do the same for the cost of goods sold, so we're not going to discuss anymore that cost of goods sold. I'm sure you did it, okay? And in the interest of time, hindi na natin i-compare. We go to this one. So for this one, lakihan ko lang yung font natin. In the first forecast that we did, we used time as a predictor. This time, we'd like to predict cost of goods sold using sales as a predictor of cost of goods sold. So we learned the best way to do this is to first plot. And I already gave here the plot. If you take a look at the plot of cost of goods sold is the y-axis. Okay, this is your dependent variable. And sales is the independent variable. Because syempre, ang cost of goods sold, guys, nagdi-depend sa sales yan. And not the other way around. Okay, so if we plot it, you can see here that there seems to be a very strong relationship between sales and cost of goods sold. Sales natin, ito nasa x-axis. Cost of goods sold nasa y-axis. Okay, and if you're using Excel, make sure that the first variable is your x. No? Otherwise, magbabago siya. So we also generated the linear regression line. Ito yun. Okay, you know how to do this, guys, di ba? Right-click lang dito. Right-click and any of the points. Right-click there and then add trend line. No? Yan. And then display equation on chart, display R-squared value on chart. You can make one forward. Backward naman, guys, pabalik siya. Okay, so I'll not do that anymore. Okay, so we can compute for the cost of goods sold for as long as we have sales value. Kung alam natin yung sales, guys, then makukuha natin yung cost of goods sold using this regression line. Okay, so let's use the sales of the forecasted sales of our ito, guys, yung ginamit natin na open natin to. Okay, dali. So this is equal to, let's just copy the values of the sales, predicted sales for 2022, for 2023, and 2024 using the regression line. Okay. And then our cost of goods sold, you know this, guys, we can use the trend function. So let's use the trend function. So it's equal to trend. Okay, trend. Ang known Y's natin, okay, di ba ang Y natin dito si cost of goods sold. Tama? And then I fix this because I'm going to copy this down. Just fix the row. Known X natin will be sales. Okay. And then comma. What's the new value of X? So since we're using sales in order to predict cost of goods sold, we have to have the value of sales. So hindi natin ginagamit yung year, no? Kasi hindi naman natin rin-regress si cost of goods sold on year. So we're regressing cost of goods sold on sales. So therefore, we have to have the new value of sales in order to predict sales. There. Okay, so those are now our predicted cost of goods sold given our sales. Okay, again, regression yung ginamit natin dito. And just quickly, we can, if you recall, guys, we can generate the regression output. Okay, pwede natin ilagay dito. If you recall last time, data analysis, regression. Okay, ang input natin is Y, itong cost of goods sold. No? Sama ko na yung title. Tapos si X naman, input wide range natin will be itong sales C2 hanggang C7. Then make sure that labels are clicked kasi may mga label sign ginamit. And then output range, bigyan lang natin sa S. Let me just put it to S1. Okay, so this, guys, is our regression output. Okay, let's try to answer some questions here. So plot sales versus COGS, ito na yun. Use regression, ito na yung regression output natin. Is the relationship, first of all, let's take a look at R squared or adjusted R squared. See, R squared is 99.82, and what does this mean? It means that 99.82% of the variation of your dependent variable cost of goods sold can be explained by your independent variable sales. So kayang i-explain ng sales up to 99.83% of the variation of your cost of goods sold. So that's very high, guys. Ang taas-taas, no? So, ibig sabihin talagang napaka-related lang talaga ni cost of goods sold kay sales. And we can use sales in order to predict your cost of goods sold. Tingnan nyo naman yung plot, no? Halos nasa line na, no? Napakaliit ng mga residuals na, napakaliit ng mga deviation ng model natin from the actual data points. Okay, then we also look at this overall test of significance. Overall, guys, our model is able to predict cost of goods sold kasi yung significance ng F test natin is practically less than 0.5. This is practically 0. So overall significance ng model natin is good, it's okay. And then ito naman yung mga individual coefficients natin. Okay. Your intercept turns out to be not significant. Okay, hindi significant yung intercept natin. But that's okay, guys. This is greater than 0.05. Sabi natin, yung intercept kahit na hindi siya significant, sinasama pa rin natin yan sa model natin to predict our dependent variable. Our sales, on the other hand, 0.858. Ito, no? 0.8583. So what does this mean? It means for every 1 peso increase on sales, there's a corresponding 0.8583 increase in cost of goods sold. So positive yung relationship nila, no? Positive yung value na to. Ibig sabihin, pag tumataas si sales, tumataas din si cost of goods sold by 0.8583. And is it statistically significant? Yes, kasi ang ibig sabihin nito, guys, 3 times 10 to the negative 5, ibig sabihin 0.1234 and then 3011. Yan ang ibig sabihin niyan. That one, that's scientific notation. Okay? E to the negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, saka tayo magti-3. 0.3011. Okay, and this is of course less than 0.05. So, sales is a statistically significant predictor of cost of sales. Since our p-value is less than 0.05, or we can look at the t-stat. Pag 0.05 yung level of significance natin, dapat si t-stat approximately 2. So since it's greater, way greater than 2, absolute value of 2, then kaya nga statistically significant to. Tingnan niyo itong t-stat na 1.09, di ba less than 2 siya? Less than 2. Absolute value nito 1.09, less than 2 siya, kaya we expected this to be we expected the p-value to be greater than 0.05. So this is not statistically significant. Okay, so that answers the question. Relationship statistically significant. R squared, sinagot na rin natin. Predict the next 3 years of cost of goods sold. Ito na yan. Okay, assuming that your sales is, we're using the predicted sales from the regression output. Okay, i-check nga natin to guys yung 0.8583 na to. This one. If we subtract this, 450799. Okay, 450799. Okay, ba akala ko 0.8583 yung yung increment. Okay, bakit 450799? Anyone? I thought for every increase in sales, dapat magi-increase si cost of goods sold ng 0.8583. Bakit 450799 yung increases ni cost of goods sold? Okay, because guys, ilan ba in-increase ni sales dito? Di ba ang in-increase niya, i-minus natin to ha. Ang in-increase niya, 525425. 245, ito din. Pero ito guys, itong 0.8583 na yan, ibig sabihin, for every 1 unit increase in sales. Okay? Ang increase ay ano, the increase is 245. So, we use this and then multiply it by 0.8, round off lang natin to 8583. Kasi hindi naman talaga 8583 yan, no? Okay, so the increase is 450817. So, medyo malapit, no? Medyo malapit. Kasi hindi naman talaga 8583 yan, no? But that's why we get 450799. Okay, and not 8583. Kasi again, ang ibig sabihin nito guys, sa bawat piso na increase ni sales, si cost of goods sold mag-i-increase ng 8.8583. Ito, ang increase ni sales is 525245. So dapat i-multiply natin ng 0.8583 para makuha natin yung total increase ng cost of goods sold. Okay, and we got it, no? Of course, naka-ano lang siya, approximate lang siya kasi hindi naman talaga 8583 to. Okay, pause muna ako. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Any questions so far sa pag-determine ng prediction ni cost of goods sold? Sa pag-explain ng ano ng slope. I'll appreciate guys any chat from you, any feedback from you. Okay, thank you. Although 5 lang yung nag-respond, no? Sana mas maraming mag-respond. Okay, so let's now go to our forecasting of financial statements. So ito given tayo ng income statement ni Pikachu for 2021 and 2020 and then the balance sheet. Tapos pinagsama ko siya dito, no? So we're going to forecast the financial statements for Pikachu in 2022. Okay, simple spelling. And then pro forma. All right. Okay, now there are different ways to forecast financial statements. One of the most popular ones is what we call the percentage of sales method. So ito yung gagamitin natin guys na method, no? Now, bakit ginagamit si percentage of sales method? For several reasons. Number one, it's very easy to implement, no? It's very easy to use this method. Okay. Secondly, it's practical because there are many accounts in your income statement and balance sheet that are really related to your sales. Example, guys. Si accounts receivable. Pag tumataas si sales, usually guys, ang behavior din ni accounts receivable, tumataas din yan. So there's a direct relationship between several accounts in your balance sheet and your income statement that's related to sales. Si inventory, guys, related to sales din yan. Okay. Sometimes pwedeng of course, definitely si cost of goods sold. Okay, and other expense items. So there are many accounts in your income statement and balance sheet that are really related to sales. So it's really a convenient and it's an easy way to compute for your for the change in terms of sales. So let's do that, guys. Ang gagawin muna natin, okay, kunin natin yung percentage of sales. This is actually your common size statement, if you recall. Common size statement natin for the income statement, and it's always related to your sales. Okay, so this is equal to the sales divided by the sales. Okay, and then we fix the row because we're going to copy this down. Control Enter. Tapos gawin natin in terms of percentage na. Let's multiply by 100. So that's 100%, no? Gandito. Okay? Now we're going to copy this to all the items here. No? Kukunin natin yung percentage of sales nila. Okay? So the best way to do this, kasi naka-format na to guys. Ano? Finormat ko na to para hindi masira yung formatting natin. Kasi pag rinag-down natin yan, mababago yung formatting natin. Uulitin na naman natin. So just copy this. Control C. Copy natin. And then highlight everything there. Highlight everything. Right-click. And then just copy the formula. Formula lang para hindi makopy yung formatting. There. Okay. So maintain pa rin yung maintain pa rin yung formatting ng common size natin based on sales. Okay, so what's the meaning of 84.4? Ibig sabihin nun, for every 1 peso of sales, or gamitin natin 100, for every 100 peso of sales, cost of goods sold account for 84.4 centavos. Okay, ang natitira na lang sa gross profit 15.6, babawasan pa ng 8 pesos and 8.6 pesos na selling and the general and administrative expense. Tapos may fixed expense pa. Okay? Hanggang ang bottom line natin, 1 peso and 10 centavos ang natitira, okay, for every 100 peso of sales. Di ba na-discuss na natin yan? Okay. So you notice guys that everything here can be expressed in terms of sales. Okay? And then, what do we do guys? Pwede natin kunin lang yung 2021 figure. Okay, ipeg lang natin yung 2021 figure, or we can do the average. Okay, so in this exercise, we're going to get the average of the percentage of sales. So may reason din minsan kung bakit ina-average out kasi minsan baka yung may unusual na nangyari nung 2021 which really affects the ratio with respect to sales. So para medyo mabawasan yung yung abnormal na nangyayari, okay? Pwede nating ina-average natin siya para nata-temper, no? Yung abnormal effect. So we average 2021 and 2020. Okay? Enter. So this is also 100, average siya. And then again, we're going to copy this formula, Control C, then highlight below, and then just the formula. That's the formula, guys. There, para ma-preserve pa rin yung format. Okay, let me pause for a while. Okay, and then I'd like to you to chat kung okay kayo so far. Kung umabot na kayo dun sa average. Otherwise, if you have questions, please feel free, guys. I give everyone 1 minute to work on their. Thank you. Okay, let's wait for the others. Okay. Iba, hindi pa nagre-respond, pero that's okay, guys. But I hope you're following. Okay. Wala naman yatang questions. Okay, good. All right. So knowing, guys, knowing yung percentage ng mga accounts natin relative to sales, okay, and having decided that we're going to use the average, we can now use this. No? Of course, not all kasi hindi naman lahat yan we will decide kung ano sa kanila ang related to sales. Okay. So first guys, anong gagamitin natin na sales? Kasi apat yung natin, yung forecast natin ito, no? Ito yung mga apat na forecast natin ito. Ito kinapi ko lang guys from the 1A na worksheet. Okay. Now if you recall guys, di ba? Gumamit tayo dati ng data, tapos itong what if analysis, then scenario manager. Okay, we can make use of this scenario manager, guys. So ipepeg natin, yung sales natin, pwede natin gawing naive, average growth rate, CAGR, and regression. We just have to express it in terms of a certain figure. Okay, so since pinakamaliit dito yung naive, guys, pwede natin ipeg the other sales relative to naive. So kukunin natin yung factor, no? Close ko muna to. So what we can do here is divide everything, this one divided by this one, okay? And then fix the row, Control Enter, and then copy down. Okay, so ito yung mga factors natin, no? Ito yung factor natin. Ang sabi dito, C1 guys, if you're comparing 3.85 to 3.85, 1 din yun ang factor natin. So 4.631 million is 1.2030 times greater than 3850. So ito mga to guys, factors relative to 3850. So if you want, for example, to use here in sales, yung 4.3, ang gagawin natin guys, magkakaroon tayo ng helper column dito. Tapos ito, i-multiply natin dito sa previous sales natin. So let's do that. So this is equal to this. Saan ang galing to guys? Kinopya ko lang dito yan, ano? Okay, tinype ko lang, no? Tinype ko. Hindi natin gagawin yung formula kasi pag link natin dito yan, then hindi na mapipili yung iba, no? So I'm just going to choose is equal to this index here multiplied by itong 3850 na to. Or pwede rin natin gamitin to. Pero ginamit ko na lang to, no? Okay? So this is 4.3. Ito yon. Pero kung gawin ko itong 1.000, so dapat 3850 yan. No? If I change this to 1.2030, dapat 461.55 yun ito. No? Okay? Hindi lang eksakto guys kasi ito, renound off natin. No? Renound off natin dito. Tinype natin to, but this is not actually 1.2030. If we increase this guys, increase natin, yan. So mahaba yan, no? 1.20300709. Pero ang tinatype lang natin dito yung first four decimal places lang. Kaya hindi natin ma-expect na talagang parehong-pareho yan. Okay? But that doesn't matter kasi decimal lang naman yung difference yan. Okay. So let's make this first 1.1169. Okay? So ito yung lalabas, no? Ito yung sa regression natin. Okay, and later on guys, kung gusto natin mag-scenario analysis, as I was saying, we go to data, and then what if analysis, scenario manager. Okay, mag-a-add tayo. Okay, we can call it naive. Diba? Naive yung una. Naive. Tapos, ano yung changing cells natin? Ito, no? Ito. Papalitan natin to. Pag naive guys, ano yan? Diba? 1.000 yan. Diba? That's the naive. Okay? So, show. Okay. So, yun na, no? 3850. Okay? And then we can add, sorry. Pwede ko mag-add kunyari. So, may naive na tayo. Add this time. Average GR, average growth rate, okay, link to N5, okay, it should be 1.2030, 1.2030, yan. Okay? Alright? Tapos pag sinow natin yan, magbabago na to. Okay, kasi linink natin guys, dito, yung nasa scenario manager natin. So if we click average GR, show, okay, yan na. Nagbago na siya. Nagbago na rin itong ano natin. So just keep on adding, this time for the CAGR, etc. Okay, so I'll leave that to you guys kasi alam nyo naman gawin yan. No? So tapos later on, pwede natin ipa-generate yung results ng scenario manager just like what we did dun sa cash budget natin. Okay, so gross profit natin guys. Okay, what will be our our cost of goods sold muna, no? So cost of goods sold natin, gagamitin natin tong 83.9%. Average siya ng 2021 at saka 2020. Of course, pwede din natin gamitin to, no? Yung ginamit natin sa regression, ito. Pwede rin natin gamitin yan, no problem guys. It's really up to us, no? But in this case, management so decided to use just the average of the percentage of sales for the cost of goods sold. Okay, so what will be the formula here? Okay, again guys, pwede natin copyhin yung formula na to. So this one will be equal to, it will be equal to your sales. Okay, fix natin yung sales, yung row kasi pwede natin i-copy to the others yan. Multiply that by your factor na 83.9. Yan. We're not going to fix this kasi baka i-copy tayo sa iba. And then we should divide this by 100 kasi naka-times 100 tong averages natin. Control Enter there. 3887.39. Okay? Your cost of goods sold is lower. Ito 3626 using regression. No? Okay? So, of course, pwede rin natin gamitin guys yung regression natin. Okay, pause muna ako guys and I say gross profit will now be equal to this minus this amount. Okay, 744.16. Okay, let me pause for a while guys. Gawin pala natin tong 1.1169. Okay. Bakit guys? Wala lang kasi may papakita ko sa inyo kanina para pareho lang siya dun sa isang ginawa ko pa rin. No? Okay. Again guys, please chat please. Kung done na tayo. Umabot. Yes?
So the formula again for COGS in the...
Okay, sige. Thank you. Sino yan? Anthony? Sige. It's okay. Sige. Yan. So it's your sales multiplied by your percentage of sales. Okay, 83.9% ng sales. Yun ang cost of goods sold. And then i-divide natin ng 100 kasi kanina naka-times 100 tong percentage natin. There you go. 3609.16. Okay, did that answer your question? Was that who asked a while ago?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Gabe, thank you. Thank you. Nasagot mo yung question mo? Dapat meron ka ng average. Nakuha mo na ba to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's your sales. I-fix mo yung row kasi mamaya ikakopy din natin to sa iba. Multiplied by the average cost of goods sold, no? Then divide by 100. Dave, yung sales mo ba dito 4,300? Baka iba yung sales mo dito? So ginawa ko kasi itong 1.1169 para makuha natin yung regression results ng sales natin.
I think I know the problem, sir. It's just that I made mine in percentage, yung average.
Okay, okay. Kasi ito, okay lang naman yun, no? Ginawa ko lang, kasi ito ginawa natin times 100, no? Para percent kagad na nakikita natin. Kasi pwede ko rin tanggalin dito yung times 100. Magiging decimal lang siya. No problem. Mas madali kasi makita dito pag ganun, pag naka-times 100. Pero pagdating natin dito, dapat divide by 100. Okay? So, all right. How about selling general and administrative expenses? Ito mixed ito guys kasi ang selling, definitely, medyo related sa sales yan. Kung malaki yung sales, lumalaki yung selling expense. No? Pero yung general and admin, general is usually, admin is accounting, HR, yung mga non-operating mga departments. Tapos yung mga general expenses, yung mga expenses na hindi naman related to sales. Okay? So medyo mixed tayo dyan. Ano? May portion na siguro related to sales, may portion na hindi. But for our purposes, guys, we'll just assume that this is related to sales. Okay, so we're going to use this 7.8 average. No? Gawin natin guys, i-copy natin to. Yung cost of goods sold na formula natin, di ba, nakapeg dun sa sales. So let's copy this, Control C, and then yung formula lang i-copy natin, no? Para hindi nababago yung format. Okay, so 334.81. Okay, formula niyan, okay, kinapi ko lang actually itong ano. Oh, wait, ano ba kinapi ko? Oh, tama. Ang kinapi ko kasi yung cost of goods sold. So itong formula niyan, yung D6 times this rate divided by 100. In fact, guys, pwede nyo natin bigyan ng pangalan to, no? Para mas makikita natin lagi. Let's just give it a name. Sales 2022. Yan. Para kita natin na so if I replace yung D6, i-replace ko siya nito. Mas intuitive siya, no? Mas kita natin. Sales of 2022. This one, ganun din, palitan ko rin to. Okay. Alright, fixed expense guys, syempre ang fixed expense regardless guys of the level of sales, pare-pareho lang yan. So let's just equate it to 2021. So our EBITDA will now be equal to your gross profit less your two expenses, yung selling at saka fixed expenses natin. Okay, 256.1 yung EBITDA natin. Okay, pause ulit ako again, guys. Kindly chat, please, kung umabot na kayo sa EBITDA. More response, please. Okay, let's give your classmates a few more seconds to complete their work and chat. Sana guys, maka more than 50%, 60% yung nag-chat sa atin, yung nag-respond to my query. Okay, good. Right? So thank you. Okay, now we go to depreciation expense. Okay, yung depreciation expense, alam naman natin yan guys, na this is based on the level of your fixed assets, yung property, plant, and equipment. No? So I place this in red to indicate na babalikan natin to ha. Mamaya, titingnan muna natin yung balance sheet natin, tingnan natin yung plant and equipment. So ibig sabihin, wala pa tayong value dito. Okay? So our EBITDA will now be your EBITDA less your depreciation expense. So pareho pa lang guys. Okay. Lagyan mo ng decimal, 2 decimal places. Pareho pa lang kasi wala pa tayong depreciation expense. Okay, interest expense, ano naman to? Interest expense. Okay, we can approximate the interest expense. Let's take a look at the interest expense from 2021. Okay, noong 2021 guys, ang interest expense natin 76. Pero saan nanggaling yung interest expense? We can only determine this guys by looking at the balance sheet. So sa balance sheet guys, ano ba nag-i-incur ng interest expense? Siyempre guys, ano yan, galing sa liabilities, no? And liabilities yan. Equity naman, hindi naman nag-i-incur ng interest expense yan, no? Unless may preferred stock. Kasi may, in a sense, parang may interest din yung preferred stock. Tapos sa assets naman, actually may interest income kung tutuusin. So kung may interest, may ano tayo, kunyari short-term investments, dapat papasok din dito yung sa interest expense. No? So medyo, dali ha? control 1, ba't ba naging 12 decimal places? Nag-default siya sa 12, okay? 2 decimal places lang. Okay, so i-compute natin guys yung interest expense. 76 nang galing to siya. Di ba ang pagagalingan ng interest expense will be ito, short-term notes payable. Yan, no? At saka yung ano pa, itong long-term debt. Itong dalawang to. No? So the source of your interest expense will be the short-term notes payable and the long-term debt. So let's get the ratio of this, guys. Let's get the ratio of this. Kunin natin yung ratio is equal to yung 76 divided by magkano yung interest bearing na ano natin na accounts? Sum ng short-term notes payable at saka ng long-term debt. Okay, actually malaking sinisimplify natin dito, no? We are assuming that yung short-term notes payable at saka yung long-term debt, pareho yung interest. Actually guys, dapat mas malaki yung interest ng long-term debt. But since we don't have that information, we will just assume that they're the same. In actuality naman guys, alam dapat yan, no? Alam dapat ng company yan kung magkano yung rate ng short-term at saka yung rate ng long-term. Okay, so let's do this. So 11.7% guys. Okay, approximately lang, 11.70 if we increase that. Okay, so again guys, hindi siya eksaktong 11.7. Okay, so that's our interest expense. So gagamitin natin to, we will assume that it's still the same loan. Okay, so constant yung yung interest expense natin. Okay, let's give this a name guys. Let's give this a name. Gawin natin itong interest. No? Interest rate. Okay, control enter. And yung tax rate guys, sorry, this is supposed to be 40%. But since 30%, but since naunahan ko na nagamit yung 40%, let's just peg it at that. No? So lagyan din natin to ng pangalan ng tax rate. Tax rate. Okay? So may pangalan to, may pangalan to. Okay, so we can now compute for your interest expense muna, no? So this is equal to yung interest rate natin, yan, di ba? Interest rate multiplied by the sum of, ano ba yung sum ng ano natin, ng short-term na notes payable, comma, and your long-term debt. Wala pang figures ngayon guys, no? No figures yet, hindi pa natin na-figure out kung ano yung value niyan. But we're now setting it up guys para so that when so that when naglagay na tayo dito ng ng figures, automatically maki-carry out na dito yan, no? Okay, ang kulang na lang natin dito yung depreciation expense. Enter. So we now have 0 first kasi wala pa tayong value ng wala pa tayong value ng short-term notes payable natin at saka ng long-term debt. And therefore, our earnings before tax is simply the difference between this one and your interest. Okay? And your taxes will be equal to the earnings before tax multiplied by the tax rate. Pwede na lang natin yan, tax rate. So yun, binigyan natin ng name. Control enter. And then therefore, our net income after tax is this one minus this one. Okay. Feedback please guys kung if you got 153.66 sa net income after tax natin. Of course, hindi pa yan yung actual value, no? Kasi mas mababawasan pa dapat yan kasi wala pa tayong depreciation expense dito. Please chat guys, please, kung nakuha nyo.
Sir, sorry, can I see the formula po ulit for the interest expense?
Interest expense, okay. Thank you. Interest expense, there. We gave a name to our interest rate. and then times. Your interest expense will depend on your short-term notes payable and your long-term debt for 2022.
Thank you po, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, any other questions, guys? Before we go to the balance sheet. Thank you. Just a few more seconds, guys, and then we go to the balance sheet. Okay. All right. So we now go to the balance sheet. In the same manner, guys, na may mga accounts sa income statement na related sa sales, may mga accounts din sa balance sheet, guys, na related sa sales. So let's copy the formula here. Ito. Copy natin to yung dalawang formula na to, di ba? Relate natin siya sa sales. So we're going to copy this to Control C. Okay, and then highlight natin to, itong buong to. And then just copy the formula. There. So ito guys, itong mga figures na to, these are it's the ratio of your accounts to your sales. Okay, and then let's also get the average. Tingnan natin kung ano yung mga magagamit natin dito. Average of 2020 and 2021. Okay, so you have here some figures. Of course, not everything will be, not all of this. Lagyan lang natin ng ano to, ng. So candidate to guys para gamitin natin sa pag-forecast ng ano natin ng balance sheet. Okay, let's start guys. So number one, cash and cash equivalents. Okay, ang tanong guys, si cash and cash equivalents guys, related ba sa sales yan? Pwede ba natin masabi na habang tumataas yung sales o bumababa yung sales, bumababa din yung cash and cash equivalents? Okay, the answer to that is to a certain degree. Okay, let me cite to you the reasons. Of course guys, affected yung sales kung tumaas yung sales. Siyempre, dadaming benta, mas lalaki yung cash collections. Okay, so that's one definite reason why cash and cash equivalents are related. Pero guys, if you come to think of it guys, companies do not really park their money as cash. Pag may cash sila, anong ginagawa nila? Kino-convert nila yan into investments, di ba? Either mag-ano sila, invest short term, invest long term, invest sa equipment, etc. Hindi sila nag-maintain ng malaking cash kasi hindi kikita lang kung cash lang guys. Okay, cash has to be used in order to generate more revenues for the company. Kung cash lang yan, walang gamit yan. Kung andyan lang yan, nakapark lang, andun lang sa vault ng company, over time guys, since may inflation, bumababa yung value niyan. So the company has to make use of cash and flow it back to operations, flow it back to investments, etc. para mas kumita. No? So ang question guys, si cash ba i-relate natin kay sales? So that's a good question. So partly yes and partly no. But for our purposes guys, we will just assume that it's related to sales. So gagamitin natin tong 1.5 na to. No? So ano yung formula natin? Same as the formula for cost of goods sold. So pwede natin copyhin to. No? So it's sales times the ratio divided by 100. Let's copy this, Control C, and then just copy the formula. Okay, yan ang kagandahan guys kung alam natin na formula lang kakopyahin, wag na yung formatting. Okay, how about accounts receivable? Guys, si accounts receivable ba related sa sales? Of course guys, yan, definite tayo. No? Si accounts receivable at saka si inventory, definitely guys, related to sales yan. So we can use this, yung 10.3% na yan, ibig sabihin, yung accounts receivable natin is 10.3% of sales, inventory 21.3% of sales. Okay, so we can use that. Copy natin to, Control C, highlight natin tong dalawang to, and then copy the formula there. Okay, pause muna ako, guys. Let me pause for a while and yes.
Formula you use for cash in equivalents that you copied down.
Yes, ito ginamit natin, no? So we just copy the formula dun sa cost of goods sold. Kinopy natin yung formula sa cost of goods sold since ito naman yung formula na yan. Okay, so we said that we're for this purposes, for this example, we're just going to relate your cash and cash equivalents to sales. In the real world, guys, alam naman ng company kung anong level ng sales dapat ang meron nila, no? Kasi baka mag-balloon yung sales, tapos kung ililink natin sa yung cash sales, masyadong lalaki yung sales na yung cash natin. And it might not look well, no? Look good for the company kasi ibig sabihin nun, anong ginagawa nila sa cash? Hindi ba dapat kino-convert yan into receivables or to inventories or to equipment, di ba? Yun ang problem dun. Okay, while a huge cash on one hand might look good kasi tumataas yung current ratio natin, pero on the other hand, a very big current ratio is not a good indicator, no? Kasi kunyari current ratio 10:1. Bakit ka maglalagay ng ng malaking cash? Okay, let me clarify that. Cash ratio pala. Bakit ka maglalagay ng malaking cash para bayaran yung short-term debt? No? Dapat ginagamit natin yung cash, gino-roll over natin yan into other purposes kasi yun ang mag-generate ng mas malaking revenues. Okay, I hope that's clear, guys. Clear ba yung ano natin dito? 65 yung cash, no? 444,914. You got this, guys? Of course, your total current asset. Paki-chat naman, guys. So kung nakuha nyo yung first three natin ng current assets, so that should be 1425.55. Chat please, guys, kung okay tayo. Okay, good. Thank you, Angelica. How about the rest? Okay, Louis, thank you. Okay, Mark, salamat, no? So I hope you're okay, guys. I hope you're getting it. Okay, if you have any questions, please, guys, my attitude towards questions, please feel free. Your questions are very welcome. In fact, I'd like to encourage you to do that.
Sir, sorry po. How did
Yes?
you get po yung 1.4 dun sa may average table dun sa 2021?
20,
Nawala
ito?
po.
Sige, okay
Opo,
lang.
I just
Okay
need
lang.
the formula po.
Kinopya natin yung formula dito sa taas, no? Okay, sige, let me repeat this, no? Ito kasi gusto natin i-relate si cash sa yung percentage ng cash and cash equivalents, no? Sa sales. Ito yon. So pareho dito yon. So what I did was to copy, ito kasi, this is the sales of 2021 divided by the sales of 2021 times 100. So ang ginawa ko dyan, kinopy ko itong dalawang to, Control-C, tapos pinaste ko dito. In fact, sa lahat na, no? Sa lahat pala yung ginawa ko. Everything there, everything here, and then right-click. Nawala yata yung pag-copy ko. Right-click, formulas lang. Control-C, copy natin yung formula yan, yung ratio sa sales. And then, right-click, yan. There. That's how we got it. Okay, did that answer your question?
Opo, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those questions. No? Sige lang guys, ha? Pag may mga questions, feel free. Okay, then next guys, plant and equipment, ito. Pwede natin gawin itong 14%. No? Sige, lagyan nga natin. If I copy this, Control-C, and then just the formula. So our property, plant, and equipment will be 601. Kasi, guys, ano din to, a certain degree, si plant and equipment is also related to your sales. Usually, a higher target sales might mean additional property, plant, and equipment. Okay? So 601.90, kung yun ang gagamitin natin. So depende guys sa situation. In this case, nag-earmark na yung nag-earmark yung management na magdadagdag sila ng 50 million worth of equipment. So ito yon, no? So what will happen now is that sa plant and equipment natin, this should be at cost, no? At cost. Kasi may accumulated depreciation tayo sa ilalim, no? At cost. So meron tayong 527, okay? Idadagdag natin yung yung additional. So sum of this one and the additional na equipment natin na 50. Okay? Yun. So meron tayong ano, hindi natin ginamit yung percentage of sales dito, pero pwede rin naman, no? Kaso may information tayo that the company is eyeing 50 million investment for the next year. So ito 'yon, no? 577. Okay, so we have now to compute for the accumulated depreciation. Pero i-compute muna natin yung depreciation due to this new equipment. Okay, given tayo that's the salvage value is 2 million and then the life of the equipment will be 10 years, no? So alam niyo naman straight line, di ba? Original cost minus the salvage value divided by the life of the equipment. Pero gamitin natin si SLN ni Excel. Kasi may function na SL, okay, XLN. And what's the SLN? Returns the straight line depreciation of an asset for one period. So annual depreciation yan. So ang cost natin is 50 million, comma, magkano yung salvage value? 2, okay, comma, and the life of the asset is 10. Okay. So there you go. Oops, ano siya? Copy natin to, format painter dito. Okay. And then lagyan ko lang. 4.8 guys. That's our annual depreciation for this equipment, no? For this additional equipment. Therefore, yung accumulated depreciation natin guys will become yung sa accumulated depreciation of 2021 and then idadagdag natin yung bagong depreciation natin. This one. Okay? So it's 171. Nadagdagan yung accumulated depreciation natin. And therefore your net fixed assets is the sum, not the sum, it's equal to plant and equipment minus accumulated depreciation. There. So that's our net fixed assets. Okay, naka-itals din. Yung mga subtotals naka-itals. Okay, therefore our total assets will be the sum of your total current assets, comma, net fixed assets. There. Wait. Okay. Again, guys, let me pause.
Excuse me, sir. Can you
Yes.
for the formulas you got for plant PPE and accumulated depreciation?
Okay, sige. Thank you. Thank you. Ang PPE natin, kasi may information tayo dito na na may magkakaroon tayo ng additional investment na na 50. So we're using this information. So it's your previous PPE plus the additional PPE. Okay, ang previous PPE natin andi dito, yan, 527 plus 50 magiging 577. Okay? And then yung accumulated depreciation natin, di ba dito kinompute natin, given kasi tayo na ang cost niya 50, salvage value is 2, life of the equipment is 10, kinompute muna natin si straight line using the SLN function. So this is the cost, this is the salvage value, this is the life, okay? So easily algebra lang naman yan, arithmetic 4.8. So ang accumulated depreciation natin will be, i-add natin, no? Kasi accumulated yan, di ba? Over time, nadadagdagan yan, no? Okay, so yung 2021 natin at saka yung additional na depreciation. Okay?
Yes, sir, got it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions, guys? Total assets natin? Okay, none? Alright. So ito yung assets na kailangan natin, guys, no? In order to support this level of sales, okay? Itong level of sales na to will require an asset base of 1830.55. So it's greater than the 2021. Okay. Kung i-change natin to, guys, tingnan natin ha. Gawin natin itong 1.2030. Let's just play around with this one. Okay, syempre magbabago yung lahat, no? So dito, ang level of assets na kailangan natin 1940.36. Okay? So if you notice, guys, magbabago yung total assets nyo depende dun sa projected sales. Kasi nga many of your accounts here move with sales, no? So any change in your sales would mean changes in your pro forma accounts for the income statement and the balance sheet. Okay. Ibalik natin guys sa 1.1169. No? Okay. So, take note guys, it changes because nakalink yung ano natin. No? Nakalink yung sales natin ito dito sa index natin. Okay, now let's go to liabilities and equity. Okay, hindi kompleto yung balance sheet guys kung walang liabilities and equity. All right. Number 1, accounts payable. Si accounts payable ba, do you think accounts payable move with sales? Answer guys is definitely, no? Kasi paano ba si accounts payable? Okay, before I start discussing that, meron guys dalawang types of two types of financing, no? Meron tayong spontaneous financing at saka discretionary, no? Discretionary financing. Anong difference nila? Spontaneous, guys, happens, so this is generated in the ordinary course of your business, of the business of the firm. Okay, example niyan, accounts payable. Spontaneous yan. Bakit spontaneous siya? Kasi guys, di ba, pag magsi-sales tayo, no? Mag-operational tayo, kunyari we're manufacturing something, you have to buy certain raw materials. So pag bumili ka ng raw materials, it's generated in the course of the business. No? Tapos bibigyan tayo ng credit limit, no? Ng terms. E di magkakaroon tayo ng accounts payable. So ito na-generate because of in the ordinary course of our business. Spontaneous yan. No? Okay, how about this guys? Yung short-term notes payable, pwedeng hindi, no? Pwedeng hindi, maaring discretionary yan. Kasi kapag interest-bearing, ang nagdi-decide niyan yung upper management, aaprobahan nila kung okay ba tayo mag-loan ng ganito. No? Kasi may interest aspect yan eh. So kapag may interest aspect, usually hindi siya spontaneous. No? Usually galing yan sa upper management or sa finance, for example, sila magdi-decide niyan. Okay? Other current liabilities, pwedeng pwedeng spontaneous kasi hindi naman natin alam yung nature nito, no? But we will just assume that this is spontaneous. Long-term debt, guys, definitely hindi spontaneous yan. Discretionary financing yan. Common stock, guys, discretionary yan. So yung mga yan, yung mga interest-bearing, long-term debt, yung mga bonds, common stock, these are not spontaneous financing. These are discretionary financing. Okay, and then if they're discretionary financing, usually, hindi natin rin-relate kay sales yan. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang basta-basta mag-i-increase ng common stock, no? Kasi tumaas yung sales. Hindi ganun. Management will have to decide kung mag-i-increase sila ng common stock, mag-i-issue sila ng common stock regardless of the level of sales. Okay? So that's a guide for us, no? So si accounts payable, guys, spontaneous financing yan. So related sa sales yan. So let's just copy this. Ito pwedeng anywhere here. Itong accounts receivable, pwede Control C. And then, okay, formula there. 189.05, no? Check the formula. So convenient guys yung pag-copy na lang, no? Copy paste, but this time just to make sure that hindi na babago yung format. Okay? Yung na lang, yung formula lang i-copy. So tama, no? 4.4 times sales. Okay. Short-term notes payable. Ito din guys, no? Ito hindi to spontaneous. So malamang niyan guys, ang magde-decide niyan, finance or management. No? So pag ganyan, hindi natin siya pwedeng i-link sa sales. Unless sinabi sa problem kunyari or unless talagang practice ng company yon na yung mga short term pwedeng i-link sa sales. Okay? But generally guys, hindi natin gagawin yan. Okay, so how do we now predict this? Ang problema guys, hindi natin alam, itong short term notes payable natin, hindi natin alam kung i-write off na ba natin yan o i-cancel natin kasi nabayaran na. Okay? But for our purposes, guys, let's just assume that the same value, no, for 2021. I-equate lang natin yan. Anyway, guys, sa tunay na buhay ulit, alam natin yung nature ng short-term debt na yan, no? Short-term notes payable. Kung hindi pa yan i-retire, then pwedeng equate pa natin yan, or pag na-retire niyan, pwede maging zero na to, no? Etc. Okay, so itong other current liabilities, let's assume that it's also related to sales. So copy natin to, Control C, and then formula. No? So maraming assumptions na ginagawa dito. Siyempre, pag forecasting, ganun. Dapat nga guys, dinocument ko, no? Kung ano yung mga accounts na, dapat nakasulat yan, kung ano yung mga accounts na nag-move with sales siya. Okay? So we can now compute for our total current liabilities. Sum lang to. Sum of this. Okay. 577.44. Okay, balikan lang natin guys, no? Since may depreciation na tayo, pwede na natin i-ano dito yung depreciation natin. Okay. So what will be our depreciation for 2022? So the previous year guys, may 20, no? Okay, we can assume that yung mga assets na yan are not yet fully depreciated. So yung 20,000 yan, magke-carry on lang dito yan. Magke-carry on lang sa 2022 plus isasum natin yung bagong asset na nakuha na may annual depreciation of 4.8. There. Okay? So makukuha natin yung depreciation expense for 2022 kasi alam na natin kung magkano yung additional na depreciation for 2022. Ito yun, yung 4.8. Okay, so this is now 24.8. So ang net income na natin, 122.98. Okay, so depreciation natin guys. Yung previous year na depreciation, kasi short, pag straight line yan guys, so pare-pareho lang every year yan. Until fully depreciate na isang asset. So binabawasan natin yon. Okay, and then the additional asset na may depreciation na 4.8. Inad natin siya. Okay, 122.98. Did you get this guys? Kindly chat please.
Sir, saan
Yes.
po kinopi yung formula ng other current liabilities?
Other current liabilities. Anywhere dun sa may kinapit tayo na na base sa sales, no? Asan yung current
okay po.
liabilities natin? Kunyari,
Okay
ito.
po. Thank you,
Kinapi
sir.
ko lang siya based on accounts receivable, no? Okay. Pero yung formula lang kinapi natin. Pwedeng based sa inventory, pwedeng based sa cash. Okay.
Okay
this,
po. Thank you,
okay,
thank you.
sige. Okay, so kaya sales pa rin ng 2022 times the ratio. Okay, so so far guys, mukhang okay naman tayo, no? Although hindi ko nakikita yung feedback ng iba. Okay, you should be getting a net income after tax of 122.98. Okay, so let's move on guys. Long-term debt natin, since discretionary yan guys, hindi natin siya pwede ipeg ulit sa sales, no? So we'll just assume that it will be the same as the previous year. Kasi pag long-term naman guys, yung principal, ganun pa rin, no? Okay, so our total liabilities now will be the sum of your current and your long-term. There. Okay, pause muna ako. Any questions? Pause muna ako for questions. Okay, thank you, Lance. Thank you. Okay, Amy, thank you. All right. So mukhang walang questions, guys. So let's move. Let's move on. Common stock, another discretionary yan. So hindi na natin pwedeng i-link sa sales yan. So let's just assume that maintain pa rin yung common stock natin. Okay, thank you, Gabe. All right. So now our retained earnings ngayon, no? Our retained earnings will simply be yung previous retained earnings. So isam natin yung previous retained earnings natin at saka idadagdag natin yung addition to retained earnings this year. Dito manggagaling sa income statement yun. No? Okay? So, since wala naman dividends, no? Ang addition to retained earnings will be your net income after tax. Kasi let's assume that there's dividend here. So, ibabawas yung dividend. So, yung magiging balance ng net income after tax less the dividend will be your addition to retained earnings. But since you don't have dividends, so everything here in your net income after tax will be added to retained earnings. There. Okay, sum of E41 and D17. Yan ngayon ang retained earnings natin, yung bago. Yung previous plus yung net income after tax. Bakit net income after tax, guys? Kasi yun ang addition to retained earnings natin kasi wala namang dividend na dinistribute. Kung may dividend na dinistribute, guys, ima-minus natin yun sa net income after tax. Tapos yung result nun, yung difference nun, yun ang addition to retained earnings natin. Okay, so it's 319.17. Therefore, guys, our total shareholders' equity is the sum of your total liabilities, common stock, mali. Your total shareholders' equity is your common stock, and then your retained earnings. So that's 7. Total shareholders' equity. Dapat nakaano to. Yan. Okay, and therefore, guys, our total liabilities and equity will be the sum of total liabilities and your total shareholders' equity. 1781.21. Okay. Again, guys, may I request your chat, please, kung okay to. Mukhang kakailangan ko, guys, estimate ko lang ng 5 minutes. I hope, guys, you will allow me kasi hindi natin pwedeng ibitin na to, no? I hope. Yes, sige. What's your question?
How of the balance sheet isn't balanced?
Ayun, okay. I was about to ask that. Sino nagtanong na yun?
Angelo po, Concepcion.
Angelo, okay, good. Angelo, thank you so much. You beat me to it, no? Kasi tatanungin ko sana sa inyo, what's weird with your balance sheet? Angelo is correct. Tama, napansin kagad ni Angelo, total assets natin 1830, total liabilities and equity 1781.21. Oops, hindi balance yan, di ba? Hindi siya balance. Hindi pa pwede yan, guys. Hindi pa tayo tapos. No? We need to do something. Okay? So this is where we have this measure called DFN or AFN, no? Additional funding needed or discretionary funding needed. Okay, all right. So, saan nagaling itong 8035 na to? This is your total sales and it's based on, nakabase siya dun sa forecasted revenues natin, no? Sales. In fact, pagbaguhin natin yung sales natin based on whether it's naive, average growth rate, CAGR, or regression na to, no? If it's CAGR, mababago din, guys, yung ano natin, yung balances, no? Okay, usually, guys, pag nag-i-increase yung sales, usually, anong nangyayari dyan, nagkakaroon tayo ng deficit. So what's deficit? Explain ko, no? So we have what we call a discretionary funding needed. And that happens when your total assets is more than your total liabilities and equity. Ibig sabihin, hindi sufficient yung funding natin para i-support yung assets. Kaya hindi tayo balance, no? So ang tawag dyan, needed, discretionary funding needed. So, lagyan natin dito, is equal to, it's the difference between your total assets minus your total liabilities and equity. So 49.34, ito yung DFN natin, discretionary funding needed. Lagyan natin ng label to, guys, no? So is equal to, if your DFN is positive, okay, we call it deficit. Deficit ang tawag dyan. Okay, if your, yan ko lang ng ano, if this amount is less than 0, when will that happen? Mas malaki yung ano, guys, yung liabilities natin. Mas malaking financing natin kaysa kay assets, no? If that's less than 0, then we call it, we have a name for it, we call it surplus. Okay. Otherwise, kung hindi siya greater than, hindi siya less than, then dapat equal siya, no? Di ba? Ang tawag doon balance. Okay? So, we just gave it a name, guys, just to identify kung Deficit ba siya o surplus ba siya o balance ba siya? Okay, so right now guys, it's a deficit kasi nga mayroon tayong DFN. Okay, so how do we solve this guys? How do we solve this? Kailangan natin, explain ko muna, kailangan natin guys, dagdagan yung ano natin. And usually, linalagay yan sa discretionary funding. So either long-term debt or pwedeng common stock. No? So for our purposes, we will just assume that, lagyan natin dito ang assumption natin. Any DFN to be financed by long-term debt. Okay, so these are assumption. Any discretionary funding needed, pag kulang yung ano natin financing, it will be financed by long-term debt. Okay? Now, iba naman yung case kapag surplus. Kapag surplus naman, ibig sabihin nun, ang gagawin natin, i-invest natin siya usually sa short-term investment. So magkakaroon tayo dapat ng short-term investment dito para ilagay natin yung sobrang financing. Okay, so but let's not go there kasi usually it's DFN, no? Discretionary funding needed, especially kung nag-i-increase yung sales. Kasi syempre pag nag-i-increase yung sales, affected yung ano natin, yung asset side natin. Pag affected yung asset side natin, okay, malamang guys, hindi natin makaka-capture yung financing natin kasi inequal lang natin to. Short-term notes payable equal lang. Common stock equal lang. Long-term debt equal lang sa previous. So natural guys, magkakaroon ng DFN. Okay, so how do we now address this DFN? First, we do it manually. Okay, again guys, permission to ano nga pala, to extend by 5 minutes kung okay lang please. Ano naman please, so pakibigay naman ng permission, paki-chat naman ng yes. Kasi hindi na natin pwede guys i-bitin pa to kasi konti na lang naman. Okay, thank you guys. I hope okay lang to everybody. But if you need to leave guys, it's okay. No problem. You may just leave. Okay, so ganito gawin natin guys, no? 'Di ba itong long-term debt natin 424? Okay, ang gagawin natin, okay, I'll copy this 424.61 plus 49.34. I'm copying it guys para absolute value kasi hindi ko pwedeng i-link dito kasi baka magbabago tong mga to no? Okay. So magkano ba dapat daw yung yung DFN natin? Dapat yung DFN natin 424 plus 49.34. Okay? So I'm going to change our DFN. Ito kasi naka-equate dito no. Papalitan ko to, ito type ko na lang 473.95. 473.95. There you go. Okay. What happened guys? What happened? Dinagdagan ko yung natin long-term debt. Dinagdagan ko ng kanina ng deficit. Pero bakit hindi siya nag-zero out? Di ba dapat mag-zero out na yun? Okay, the answer guys is no, it will not zero out. Why? Bakit? When you change this guys, ano nangyari? Nung change ito, nagbago yung income statement natin. Kasi si long-term debt guys, affects your interest expense. Ito. Diba? Si interest expense is related to your D38, binago natin to. So ano nangyari? Binago natin si interest, mababago si interest expense. Pag nabago si interest expense guys, mababago si earnings before tax. Pag nabago si earnings before tax, mababago si tax. Pag nabago si tax, mababago si net income after tax. Pag nabago si net income after tax guys, magki-carry over yan sa retained earnings, diba? Kasi si retained earnings depends on your net income after tax. So nagbago to, no? Kaya nga guys, pag tinignan natin, oops, hindi pa pala nag-zero out, no? May balance pa kasi nabawasan nga yung nadagdagan yung interest expense natin sa taas eh. Okay, so let's do this, no? Mag-iterate ulit tayo. So itong previous na to, idagdag natin si 3.46. Add 3.46. Okay. So dapat daw 477.41. O baguhin natin to guys. 477.41. Okay, ano nangyari? Control Enter. Oops. Meron pa rin, no? 0.24 pa rin. No? So sige, dagdagan natin ito. This, okay, plus 0.24. So we keep on adding and adding and adding. Enter. 477.65. Palitan natin to 477.65. Okay, enter. O may 0.02 pa. Sige, dagdagan natin ng 0.02 is equal to this one plus 0.02. Take note guys ng mga ano lang to, mga na ano to yung hindi to exact, no? Enter. 477.67. Gawin natin tong 477.67. Ayun, medyo nag-surplus na siya, no? Sumobra na ng konti. So siguro para medyo bawasan natin siguro to, no? 477.65 gawin natin 477.655. Bawasan lang natin ng konti. Okay, may konti pa, no? Okay? So ang mangyayari niyan ito, guys, no? Medyo kung gusto talaga natin na medyo medyo mas mag-zero out na siya, mahihirapan tayo, no? 66 kaya. Oh, hindi pa rin, no? Maghihirapan tayo kasi magiging incremental ng ayan, medyo nag-zero siya, no? Okay, pero deficit pa rin daw. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa talaga siya zero. Okay? But nevertheless, guys, so anong nangyari dito? 477.67 daw ang dapat maging long-term debt. So ilan talaga yung naging DFN natin? So it's this one minus this one. Ang naging DFN natin is actually 53.06. Ito yung nadagdag natin. Kasi assuming that guys na okay na to, no? Okay? Alright. So, ang problema natin ito guys, yung nag-manualize tayo, no? Inasa-isa natin. Okay? Pero, pwede bang gawin natin itong i-model natin para automatic si Excel na yung maghahanap niyan? Para automatically yung final value na lang makukuha natin. Yes, pwede yun. Okay, but before we do that, guys, I'll just need a few more minutes, no? We need to set our Excel. Pakibuksan nga tong file. Okay, dali guys ha. Quick question. Naintindihan niyo to guys, yung ginagawa natin dito? Chine-change natin yung long-term debt, guys. Okay, change natin yung long-term debt para mag-equal siya dito sa para maging zero na lang to, wala ng DFN. Okay. Not really exactly kasi deficit pa rin to, no? Ibig sabihin kulang pa rin ng konti, no? Tama ba guys? Hello? Paki-yes naman kung yes. Okay, good. Sige, thank you ha. Thank you. Okay, so ibabalik lang natin to guys. Balik natin to dito, no? Yung original formula. So initially sabi natin 49.34 yung deficit, no? Actually, hindi 49.34 kasi pag maglagay tayo sa long-term debt, mababago yung income statement natin, mababago yung balance sheet. And we keep on changing your long-term debt bago ng bago, no? Until such time na mag-converge na siya, mag-zero out na siya. So is there a way to do that? Na yung model natin exactly na? Yes, there is, no? So go first to file, very quickly guys, pakisunod ha. File, and then options. Okay, file options, and dapat sa formula, paki-check nga kung sa formulas, kung naka-click to. Most probably guys, naka-click yan kasi binigay ko sa inyo yung file na yan, ano? But generally guys, hindi naka-default yan. So paki-click, ibig sabihin iterative calculation. So si Excel mismo ang maghahanap nun. Siya mag-a-add, siya mag-change. Babaguhin niya yung income statement, babaguhin niya yung balance sheet, hanggang mag-zero out na yung natin, yung deficit. No? Okay, paki-check nga please kung naka-check na iterative calculation. Yes, okay, good. Okay, now, kasi medyo mahaba pa yung process na yan, no? Ang ginawa ko dito guys, paki-click sa proforma and unhide. Okay, may isang worksheet diyan, yung completed. Okay? So hinide ko lang kanina, no? Pero ito na 'yon, guys. Yan. Okay, ito na guys yung model na 'yon. Okay? If you can see guys, 1830.55 yung asset natin, 1830.55. Nag-balance na siya. Tingnan niyo. Nag-balance na siya. Okay, so ibig sabihin equal na talaga siya, no? Kanina may deficit pa eh. Kinat off na natin kasi 0.00 na naman, no? Okay, how did I do this? Okay, take a look first at the long-term debt. Okay? Ang formula nitong long-term debt ngayon is, okay, una muna guys, naglagay ako ng counter dito, no? Iteration. Ginawa ko siya ng data validation. Iteration is on or iteration is off. Pag in-off ko to, 0, okay? Ibig sabihin yan, babalik tayo guys dun sa unang-unang problem natin. Yung unang-unang problem na hindi balance, no? Okay, so ito formula lang din to. Lahat dito guys naka-formula lang ha. Ito, this is just a data validation. This is also a formula. So kindly just study this, no? If D47 ito, kung naka-on to guys, ang sinasabi ko dito, i-add niya yung DFN at saka yung accumulated, no? Otherwise, yung DFN lang. Kasi pag in-on to guys, tingnan nyo, 1, no? 1. Yan. Ito ang sinasabi nyo, ang total DFN natin is 53.06. Yan ang total. Yung kanina natin, ilan? Kung kanina, natanggal ko ba? It was about 53 something, no? Pero ito yung talagang value niya, 53.06. Now, binago lang natin yung formula dito sa long-term debt, no? So, sabi dito, if this is on, pag naka-on yung iteration, ang gagawin niya, yung long-term debt, whatever the long-term debt is, plus D45, kung ano yung additional, no? Otherwise, kung naka-off daw, i-link lang niya dun sa previous na long-term debt. Okay? So, enter. Pag in-off ko to guys, ibig sabihin, hindi naka-on si iteration is off. So, hindi siya nag-iterate. Hindi niya hinanap, basta sinasabi lang niya may deficit na 49.34. Pero ang gusto natin, i-on natin yung iteration, yung sa file kanina, options, formulas. Gawin natin 1 to. Kaya ano nangyari? Ang sinunod niya is equal to whatever nag-accumulate dito plus the additional deficit. Okay, so mag-a-add siya na mag-a-add hanggang maging zero out na to. Pag nag-zero out na to, wala na siyang idadagdag, no? So, hindi na siya mag-e-end na siya kasi wala na idadagdag. Okay? So this is now the quick way, no? So you'll be, kasi guys, kanina ito, just this last word, no? Konti lang, medyo nag-ano pa siya, pero dapat tuloy-tuloy pa yan, no? Dapat siguro naging 30 iterations natin hanggang mag-balance out na to. Hanggang mag-balance out na to. Kaso mahaba nga yun, di ba? 20, 30 iterations, maliit lang yung number natin. Paano kung millions yan? Baka aabot ng 50, 60, 70 iterations yan. But with this one, guys, okay, itong automatic iteration na to, ito lang. No? Pag sinero out natin, okay, so walang iteration yan. Ito yung initial na natin na DFN. Pero pag pina-iterate ko kay Excel, and dapat guys, sabi ko, dapat nakaklik to. File, options, itong formulas, this one, yan, nakaklik dapat to. Kasi kung hindi nakaklik yan guys, hindi gagana yung model natin. Okay, and then click ko lang siya, 1, iterate na siya, nag-zero out na yung DFN natin, so okay na tayo, talagang balance na to. Tapos yung total na AFN natin, DFN, is 53.06 million. Okay? Alright, so with that guys, okay na tayo. Okay, so thank you so much. Again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So let me stop recording.